Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live show. Manchester United have a new target that they're pressing ahead with. Romano confirmed some of these updates, but also says some of the news is not as close as being reported. Reports are coming out now that Matthijs Ligt is done with Bayern Munich. Matthijs Ligt is done with Bayern Munich. He's ready to force a move to Manchester United. He wants the United move. He's patiently waiting. But could United be looking at left-sided centre-backs as well? With some sources like the Man Utd saying, well, we're not sure about the Ligt now. We've got Euro but now we can't get Bramford. We might get the Ligt, but we're only going to get the Ligt for the right fee. But the Ligt is done with Bayern. He's trying to force the move to United. But that may depend on United at the end of the day. Some shock exits on the card. McTominay and Anthony, Manchester United are preparing for their exit and hoping they can go. Bids coming in from McTominay. Ugarte fee to be lowered. Does that mean the Ugarte deal is going to be done? United making some advancements on Zubimendi. Some updates on the tour. Why Malacia is staying back. Couple of stories about the tour and Manchester United's plan for pre-season tour. So guys, hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football. Welcome back to another live show. Please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new, and we're going to dive into all the news stories. I'm still a little bit asleep this morning, so hopefully I can wake up a little bit during the show as well. The news on Obi Martin is essentially he's going to make his decision. He's expected to choose Manchester United. Graham Bailey is claiming that we've actually got personal terms agreed in a deal for Obi Martin, but I don't know if we do. That's just been claimed by Graham Bailey, but there is some updates that he's basically chosen United and he's not going back to Arsenal, and he's communicated to his mates that he's going to United, but we just haven't got any official communication with that. But apparently it is Manchester United he's going to, said a lot of sources, but we're just waiting for that official confirmation, I guess, on Obi Martin. So let's dive into some of the stories. Let's dive into some of the news going around as well. Fulham signing Smith Rowe, no longer interested in Scott McTominay, but they're signing Smith Rowe to play on the wing. So I don't think they're going to be planning to play McTominay on the wing, but it is annoying because I was hoping they were going to get McTominay before they were anyone else, because now that meant, that's probably, maybe they've got less funds. A lot of people would say get Richard Rios lately, but Romano said that the interest in Richard Rios isn't advanced. We just watched him. So there's really not much to add on Richard Rios, if I'm going to be honest with you guys. So anyway, I want to talk about the first story, which is the new targets. So Manchester United open to signing a left back. Marcus Alonso is an option, as is David Hancko. Manchester United is stepping up their search for a left back, and United have identified 3 targets: Marcus Alonso, Tyrick Mitchell, and David Hancko. Now, interestingly, Laurie Whitwell reported yesterday United looking at a left-sided defender. It now been confirmed last night from the likes of Luckhurst and James Ducker and the Mirror that United looking at left-sided defender, particularly someone who can play left-back. That seems to be the focus. Now, Hancko was a player that actually had been linked to us by by Laurie Whitwell in the past, very reliable source. And I think Hancko is one to definitely look at. I mean, I said that we should look at Schlotterbeck. I think we could try and do a Sancho deal that could involve a swap. I think we could look at William Pacho, but I think Liverpool are looking at him. I think there's a couple of other good options. I think that Evan Colwell would be even a decent option if Chelsea was to sell him. Now, Marcus Alonso I don't want near Manchester United. I'd rather get Reguilon. Tyrick Mitchell I'm open to. I like Tyrick Mitchell, good player, good season at Palace, 1 year left on his deal, could be available for a good price. I said that Tyrick Mitchell was one of the most underrated players in the Premier League probably about 8 months ago, when we were about 60% through the season. I said that actually Tyrick Mitchell's had a very underrated season. So I'd probably, I'm open to it. At the end of the day, we've got Luke Shaw, we've got Malacia, they are our left back, so our left back doesn't need to be someone special. But I do like the idea of a Hancko because he can also play left centre back. Schlotterbeck, a Hancko, a Pacho, someone who can play left centre back and left back, but they're predominantly a left centre back because we've only got Martinez who can play left centre back, whereas we've got Luke Shaw and Malacia that can play left back, and hopefully they won't all be injured the whole of next season like last time, and then fill in left back if needed. That is sort of my stance. That is my sort of feeling on the situation as well. The news of Eriksen is that Ajax are interested in Eriksen. Ajax would like to do a loan deal, or they have to sell before they buy Eriksen. Eriksen is open to leaving United and joining Ajax. Man Utd are open to selling Eriksen. I think Eriksen exit happens in August. I do actually think Eriksen will leave, and I think it will just advance a little bit later in the window. It's one of those as well. Miguel would be my preferred option. I wanted Calafiori at the start. Yeah, sadly he's gone to Arsenal. Do you know who I really like is Hato of Ajax? But because he's 17, 18 and we've got Lenny Euro that's that age, I feel like we need someone a bit more experienced. But Calafiori would have been my first pick. My second pick is Schlotterbeck. My third pick is Pacho. My fourth pick would probably be like Levy Colwell. I do like Lookamy, but he doesn't play left back. He just plays left centre back. Do really like Lookamy, if I was going to be honest as well. Malacia shouldn't be considered as an option. injury prone and not good. Well, I wouldn't say he's not good. He was very key in Barcelona games, Manchester City games, Liverpool and Arsenal games, which we won in his first season. But when he's not played for a year, it's like, is he going to be any good when he comes back? There is that. I guess that's that element of concern with Malacia. To be honest, I feel for him. It's not like he's injury prone. He's had this one injury. Like, he didn't have a single injury in his first season, and then he's had this one injury that's put him out for over a year. It was said by James Ducker that Manchester United are expected to step up in their search for fullback reinforcements. Mazraoui is thought to be a potential option at right back if Wan-Bissaka leaves, and they're exploring permanent and loan deals for left backs as well. So obviously, James Ducker further confirming the Mazraoui news. It's been reported the last few days, but he again is another source saying Man United is stepping up in the search for a left back. I think that's due to fitness issues over Luke Shaw and Malacia. Marcos Alonso's account, according to Romano, had not received any approach from Manchester United as of today, and that there's nothing advanced or concrete between Manchester United and Tottenham for Reguilon, was said by Romano. Now, he didn't say anything about Hancko. He didn't rule out Hancko. I think Hancko could be the number one target because of his ability to play left centre-back, and he didn't rule out Tyrick Mitchell news that had been reported. Now, what Romano did say is that Reguilon was very happy at Manchester United, so if tomorrow Man United decide to return for him, he will be keen on the move. Reguilon loved his time at United. It was a short time, but he was very happy at the club and the tactical idea. He said that Man United will invest on the left back, but now the priority is different positions. Now, that is Romano essentially saying United will invest in the left back. They'll probably leave it to much later in the window, because right now Manchester United are probably thinking about, okay, I want that midfielder in. Romano has said that at the moment, Man United want a midfielder. I don't think anything is going to happen in terms of signings to get a midfielder in. A midfielder will be the next signing. Ten Hag came out, those at Man United came out, they spoke out and they said the priority is a midfielder. The priority now is a midfielder. Ten Hag, before the FA Cup final, when he didn't know if he was going to be sacked or not, said, I need a striker, I need a centre-back, and I need a DM. Sorry, I've yawned. And I need a DM. That's what, and that's what they're doing. The focus was centre-back. That was the priority. The second focus was striker. The third focus is DM. That's what United will do. Once United have got that, they will go for a second centre-back, and that second centre-back may be someone that can cover left-back, and if it's not, they will probably go and do someone like Reguilon on loan. That's what United want. A midfielder, two centre-back, striker, maybe one of the centre-backs can cover left-back. That's the 4 key signings. That's what the aim is. If sales happen, that is better than intended, and if we do have a few sales happen, they will then look at a winger. If Wan-Bissaka sells, they will then look at Mazraoui. Potentially, they may look at a second midfield signing, but that would have to rely on McTominay, Casemiro, and Eriksen and Mejbri all leaving the club, or at least 3 of those 4 names leaving the club to look at a second midfielder. If Toby Collier's, pre-season is good as well, they may not just focus on the one midfielder. Now, we are going to talk about Ugarte, we are going to talk about some advancements on that, but Romano did say Man United will sign a midfielder this summer. It has been quite heavily reported that United will sign a midfielder as well. Surprise, no clubs triggered Frimpong's release clause. He's brilliant in attack, we really need an attacking fullback. I think more because he's more of a winger than a fullback, and it's complicated to get him in the system. I think that's one of the things as well. But he's such a good player as well. Could Xerxes be actually brought as a Fernandes successor, hence why we are linked with other strikers? Potentially. But I think Xerxes is a bit more advanced than Fernandes. When Bruno in the FA Cup final was playing false 9 because he had McTominay, Maino and Amrabat behind him, that's maybe the role that Xerxes would do, rather than when Bruno was playing as a 10 or an 8 in the midfield. I think that Xerxes could play behind Højlund or could play as a false 9, which Bruno had done when Højlund wasn't playing. But I think then predominantly he will rotate with Højlund, and there'll be times potentially where he could drop deeper. You've got Mount as a Bruno alternative. You've got Ahmad that can play centrally. If Sancho stays, he can play as a number 10. As well as Xerxes, there is plenty of options there. But I do always think, Ivan Toney seems to be the attacker we're looking at. Like, when I look at it and I think about it, I'm like, Ivan Toney seems to be the attacker we're looking at. Ivan Toney seems to be the attacker we're focused at looking and signing. But surely we should be looking at more of a winger. Surely are we making moves for Xavi Simons or not? Like, that is the big question. Are we making a move for Xavi Simons? Are we not making a move for Xavi Simons? Are we going to make a move for Desiree Doué? It doesn't look like it, because PSG put in a €60 million bid for Desiree Doué, and we were told that Desiree Doué would be available for €45 million. So I don't think we're going to spend €60 million on Desiree Doué. There seems to be a big battle out there for Desiree Doué. There seems to be a massive battle out there for Desiree Doué, doesn't there, guys? Seems people are going all out for Doué. I can't blame them. Has anyone been sold yet? No, but there is some advancements that we're going to dive into. So it was said that, and I'm going to get into this story because I think this is a particularly interesting part of the show, but it was said that Bayern want €50 million for Matthias de Ligt, but Manchester United want to pay add-ons as part of the structure. I just realised that is not I've not pasted that correctly. De Ligt is still waiting to move, waiting on the move. De Ligt is done with Bayern and has reportedly made it abundantly clear to Bayern bosses that he wants to move to United. Bayern still stay firm on their price for De Ligt. So that is what's been said, and someone has edited my slides, I think. I think someone has edited my slides because it's a public. One sec. There we go. We'll get that back up there. There we go. So, it was said, obviously, Bayern want 50 million euros for Matthijs de Ligt, but Man United want to pay add-ons as part of the structure, not 50 million euros guaranteed. De Ligt is still waiting on the move. We know that from Romano. So, De Ligt is waiting on the United move. We have personal terms agreed with De Ligt. He's given the green light to join. Bayern Munich want to sign Tar. Bayern Munich can't sign Tar until they offload a centre-back. They've made it clear the centre-back they want to offload is Matthijs de Ligt. Matthijs de Ligt has rejected other clubs to United. He's made it clear he wants Man United. He rejected PSG. And that De Ligt is now reportedly done with Bayern Munich and reportedly made it abundantly clear to Bayern bosses that he wants to move to United and that Bayern stay firm on their price for De Ligt. But De Ligt is reportedly trying to force a move for United. I think if Manchester United want De Ligt, and that is the big question mark, I think, how much we want De Ligt. Because now we've got Euro, do we really want De Ligt? Was De Ligt our Euro alternative? Now that Manchester United have got Euro, I think if United want De Ligt, they'll get him. Now, I think that what United are doing is they want De Ligt, but maybe they're not 100% on De Ligt. So they're like, well, they'll look at left centre-back options, and then if we can get them for a really good bargain price, we'll just get De Ligt and get 2 right centre-backs. Because deep down, I know that we want a left-sided centre-back. I think De Ligt is going frustrated. He knows that United aren't going to pay the money or the price tag that Bayern Munich want for him, and De Ligt is starting to force that move. Now that De Ligt is starting to force that move, he's unhappy. Now we also know the fact that Bayern Munich want to sell De Ligt. It does put United in a stronger position. It does put United in a much stronger position to say, okay, can we have him for a bit less? Now, I think United's bids for De Ligt are ridiculously low. United putting in, silly low bids for De Ligt, like 30 million euros, is not going to be accepted. They want 42 million pounds plus add-ons. I think we could do a deal which is 38 million pounds, 5 million in add-ons, takes it to 43 million pounds. Bish bash bosh. I think that's a good deal for De Ligt because he's won league titles in 3 different countries. He's pushing for the move. He wants the move. He's still got 3 years left on his contract at Bayern. He's on high wages. I think it's a fair deal. The only interesting thing is if De Ligt stays at Bayern, it's not going to be the end of the world. While they want De Ligt out so they can go and get Jonathan Tah in, Matthijs de Ligt is a very good player. And he's a player that Bayern Munich fans have been protesting, don't sell De Ligt, don't you dare sell De Ligt. So if De Ligt does end up staying at Bayern Munich, there's going to be a lot of happy Bayern Munich fans as well. We need to sell one of Lindelof and Maguire before we put ahead with De Ligt. I think that is the case. Unless Bayern lower the fee, we'll need to sell one of Lindelof and Maguire. Now, there is an expectation that Lindelof will leave Manchester United. There's a strong and heavy expectation that Lindelof will be sold and that Lindelof will leave Manchester United. But obviously nothing's advanced with that. Lindelof's had talks with clubs in Turkey and talks with clubs in Italy, and there is a genuine interest in Victor Lindelof from other clubs. Manchester United are working around all means possible to sell Victor Lindelof. They're working at all means possible to sell Victor Lindelof. But as said, I don't know if we do sell Lindelof. I don't know if we do because it's a difficult one. But I also think Lindelof's open to leaving. He wants game time. His agent's in talks. We're trying to sell him. He's not on ridiculous high wages. I almost think we sell Lindelof, but we sell him for peanuts, like 8 million. We should be able to get 15 million for Lindelof, but I almost see it being one of those deals where we absolutely get peanuts and we get like 8 million for Lindelof, which isn't really the situation that we want. Guys, please do hit that like button and, of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new and want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more. I go live every single morning on the channel around 8:45 a.m. and then I do a live around 4 p.m. in the afternoon and then I do short video roundups in the evening. So if you want to stay up to date with all the latest United news, please do subscribe. We're on the road to 100k. We're on 86,544 subscribers. So on the road to 87k. So please do subscribe if you have not already as well. De Ligt and Ugarte will likely be the next 2 signings. If I was to predict the next 2 signings, I'd say De Ligt and Ugarte, yes. But you just don't know with United because I do think we're looking at other centre-backs and I do think that we're not 100% on De Ligt because he is a right centre-back as well. De Ligt won't start anyway. Shaw, Martinez, Euro, Delo will be the first choice back four. I agree with the Muppeteers, can't see it happening. I do think now that Euro's in, the likelihood of De Ligt is less likely. The likelihood of De Ligt is less likely. Like, De Ligt is completely done with Bayern Munich. He's trying to force the United move. He wants the United move. Ten Hag wants De Ligt. Man United want De Ligt. But also Man United thinking, we got Euro in. Do we want someone that can play left centre-back and right centre-back? I think that's why Man United wanted Branthwaite. Because if Euro got injured, Branthwaite could play next to Martinez. If Martinez got injured, Branthwaite could play next to Euro. Whereas De Ligt could play left centre-back, but he is a right centre-back. And I think one thing about Erik ten Hag is he's made it clear about his love for passing angles and playing out from the back, and left footers on the left and right footers on the right. And I think especially if we have no left back, when we had no left footers in defence at all last season, that definitely did not help with build up. It was bad last season and we can't completely make excuses because of injuries, but those injuries and those minor factors do impact ten Hag's system. In terms of other news coming in, it was said in regards to outs that Fulham are discussing their next move for Scott McTominay, and United are expecting another bid. Despite Fulham paying £35 million for Smith Rowe, they're expected to put in another bid for McTominay and go for McTominay instead of Smith Rowe. And it was also said from Brazilian sources that Manchester United have put Antony up for sale. So I think, to be honest, McTominay's one where there's interest in McTominay. He's on low wages and he's open to leaving for game time. I almost think that McTominay is probably our best chance of selling someone and actually getting a decent amount of money. Best chance of selling someone we actually get a decent amount of money. Because I think right now Lindelof will probably sell but not get much money. Wan-Bissaka, I'd like to say we can get at least 15 million for, but you never know, it's United. Sancho is going to be difficult to sell. Casemiro is going to be difficult to sell because of his wages. I don't think anyone's going to buy Antony. I think if we're going to offload someone to get money, it's McTominay. I think players like Meshbury, you could maybe get a bit of money for because he's young. Pellistri, we could maybe get 15 million for because he's young. We're getting 30, 40 million bids in for Amad Diallo with money left in his contract, but we're obviously rejecting them because he's part of the plans, and that's been made clear. And I don't know if you watched my video yesterday where we spoke about how Man United have added Amad Diallo to the list of key players, and now I'm going to build a side around Amad Diallo. That was quite interesting news. But I think that right now, it's like we want to sell players. It's just a matter of, okay, Eriksen could happen in August, but we need Ajax to sell this person. Sancho has been looked at by PSG, Borussia Dortmund and Juventus, but nothing's advanced, so he could stay. I think what Man United want is Saudi to come in and buy Casemiro, and then Ajax to come in and buy Eriksen, to get a nice bid for McTominay and to get a nice bid for Lindelof. I think that's what Man United want, and if a team wants to come in for Sancho, that's a bonus. I think that's what United want, and that's what United are hoping will happen. We're on 123 likes, guys. We've got over 700 people watching, so please do go ahead and hit that like button if you have not already as well. Anthony's on eBay with a 99p start. Oh my. And United need an out-of-possession player like Kyle Walker with a speed to cover, and a winger in the mould of Doku. They keep the ball and win free kicks. That's the way our midfield don't get exposed. So you want Manchester City. No, I know what you're saying. I think what we need is someone. We need out of possession players, not necessarily right back, but someone who's very good out of possession, that's very good at covering large spaces, that is fast. I know what you mean. Our biggest issue last season was the space. It was so open for teams to play through us, and that resulted in us conceding about 20 shots a game. We need someone that's either going to go in midfield, go in the back line, that's really good at being fast, covering large space, able to defend large spaces, closing down, doing that work out of possession. I think that's why Toby Collier was quite impressive in those 2 preseason games, because him off the ball had athletic qualities that nobody else in our team had. His ability to just cover large amounts of ground, the athleticness, the ground coverage, which is why I think Amadou Onana could have worked well at United, is those long legs, that ground coverage. And I think that's what United need. United need people that are going to improve the technical flooring, like Zubimendi, people that are going to improve our build-up and technical flooring, like Zubimendi, De Ligt, Euro, but we also need people that are going to improve our athletical floor. If you look at the Premier League, you look at teams like Newcastle, which are really athletically good. Anthony Gordon, one of the most hardest working wingers, Bruno Guimaraes, people that put the shift and cover ground, and then you look at Manchester City that are really technically good. But we lack in technical and athletical brilliance, and you need a little bit of both. And I do think that we need someone that is good out of possession, 100%, someone that is fast, someone that can close people down, because I think just the lack of athletic qualities at United is worrying as well. Sancho for Xavi Simons is one that we've been talking about a while. Considering we've got an interest in Xavi Simons and they've got an interest in Sancho, I'm surprised the swap deal hasn't been discussed. Maybe it has been discussed, or maybe PSG aren't that convinced on Sancho and he's like 3rd or 4th down the list, because I know that Kvaratskhelia is PSG's first pick, but apparently that's not going to happen. That Sinner's unlikely. He won't be going to PSG, so who knows as well. Alice, do you think we should go for Pacho? I'm open for us getting Pacho. Hey Alice, what do you think about Longstaff and Sten Botman? Are they better than De Ligt? Well, Longstaff's not better than De Ligt. Longstaff doesn't play centre-backs. Finn Botman is a left centre-back, and I would have taken him at United pre-injury, or because he was very good at Newcastle last season, or last season, because he was injured last season. But I wouldn't say better than Ligt. I think Botman, you could argue, in his first season was brilliant, but I don't think you can say the better than Ligt just yet, especially when Botman's not played for a year. It would probably be a bit crazy as well. What is the latest on Ugarte and the Ugarte front? So it has been said that it's likely that PSG will lower their asking price for Ugarte, and that is like saying there's clouds in the sky. I mean, PSG know they're not going to get 59 million pounds for Ugarte, and they're trying on. It's not like PSG don't want to sell Ugarte, so they're asking for 59 million, which is a bit of a stretch. Everton don't want to sell Braithwaite, and he's had a good season. So you can understand to an extent Everton asking for 70 million for Braithwaite because we paid 80 million for Maguire. They don't want to sell him. He's had a good season. What you do need to realise is that PSG do want to sell Ugarte. So a player you've bought for 50 million that didn't have a good season, that is not wanted by the manager, is not happy at the club, and that you want to move on because you instantly want to replace him because you're in talks with Jan Evers and he's not part of your plans next season, you can't make 10 million profit on. You've got to take 10 million loss on. You've got to sell him for about 40 million pounds. PSG will know that they can't make a profit on Ugarte. They'll try it on because it's Manchester United and that is what they're doing. But they will know that they can't make an offer on Ugarte, and I believe that they will lower the fee for Ugarte probably this week because they want to get Jan Evers done and over the line. But they're thinking, is there a way we can get United to pay the Jan Evers fee because we also want to bring in a winger and Ostenhelm on top of Jan Evers, so we're going to need a lot of money for Ugarte to try and make this possible. Man United aren't going to pay that. And there's a reason why I think Man United have looked at Koeman. I think there's a reason why Man United looked at Fofana. I think there's a reason why Man United have had talks with Zubimendi the last 2 days to say, look, if you price us out of Ugarte, who wants to come, that we've got personal terms agreed. But that we had the same with Braithwaite. We were priced out of Braithwaite. We had personal terms agreed with Braithwaite. He was our number one choice. Ugarte's the number one pick. But if you price us out like Everton priced out of Braithwaite, we will go for Zubimendi. We will go for Yusuf Fofana. So you do what you want with Manuel Ugarte, but we're not going to pay 142 million. And I like that from Ineos. Ineos are hard on this stance. Ineos are saying we're not the Man United that overpay anymore. If we go and overpay on Braithwaite and Ugarte, we're going to have to overpay on everyone. Next transfer window, if people realise that, okay, last transfer window, they didn't get Ugarte and they didn't get Braithwaite because this club and this club was demanding this amount, and they didn't get Ligt because this club was demanding this amount, despite agreeing personal terms of all three players and them being on the list. Clubs will go, okay, well, we can't ask Ineos to play extortionate prices because Man United don't do that anymore. It's about sending a message for what we're going to do in future transfer windows and how we're going to, progress forward and stuff as well. Ugarte isn't useless in the possession, no. Ugarte has limitations, absolutely. I have some concerns around Ugarte. He has limitations. There's areas of Ugarte's game that, for sure worry me. But I do feel like a lot of these Twitter tacticos online are almost trying to make out that Ugarte's rubbish. And Ugarte is not rubbish. Ugarte's very good on the ball. And I think that Ugarte can massively help Manchester United. I think he can be a very good partner for Romano. There is limitations in regards to Ugarte's possession game and potentially build up. And he didn't have the best season at PSG because they play a possession-based style and he didn't suit it. And there is worries that he didn't have a good season in the French league. And there is worries that, he's not the best in possession. And we have had issues in possession. But at the end of the day, I think that people are trying to make out online, like the tacticos of Ugarte is a lot worse than he actually is. There's a decent player in Ugarte that can do a job. Guys, make sure you hit that like button and, of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I do want to get into this next report in a second, but I'm going to quickly get into the live chat as well. When did you see it last night? I looked knackered. I went to sleep at about 1 a.m. I am absolutely knackered. She went to the pub last night. Zubimendi better than Ugarte. I do believe that Zubimendi is probably better than Ugarte in my opinion as well. Someone said Ugarte, too many injuries, stay away from him. Ugarte injury record. I don't think he gets injuries, if I was going to be honest. Ugarte's injury history, okay? Ugarte did not miss a single game last season through injury. Ugarte has not missed one football game through injury in 3.5 years. 4 years. The last injury Ugarte had was August 2020. And he was out for a week with an arm injury, and then he was fine. So he missed 3 games the first few weeks of the season in the 2021 season with an arm injury. So that's what's been said by Ugarte. He missed 1 game at Sporting Lisbon through coronavirus, and he missed another game through that as well. But Ugarte has not missed a single game through injury in 4 years. So I don't know where you found out that Ugarte's injury prone, but that's definitely someone chatting some shite on Twitter that's probably spread. Cadalogu is expected to be about 30 million, but he can cover right back and left back, so he's definitely an option if Wan-Bissaka goes as well. We should be playing modern possession football. I do think with a more modern approach, Zubimendi is more suited to that. But I think at the end of the day, we still want to go with that transitional approach, which I have a few question marks around, but it's what the manager wants to do as well. Hi Alice, what do you think about the new blue kit? Should we get that up on the screen actually? I quite like it, to be fair. It reminds me of the old days when we used to, I feel like under Fergie, we used to have a blue kit. Maybe that's just me, but I always feel like under Fergie we had a blue kit. We used to have like that, or black kit with the blue stripe. It always used to be red and blue. I don't know, maybe that's just me. And what we always had red, blue, and white, I feel like, and I think we've done those colours again this season. I'll get this up. The United Standard have shown a few images here. So this is the new kit, and I do like it. I do like collars on kits. Maybe that's just me, but I do like collars on kits. I do think they look really good. It does look really smooth. I'm not a big navy blue person, but I think the darker colours, the collar, I definitely think that it is a very nice kit. So I'm really happy with the kits this season. I think the Snapdragon logo definitely looks a lot better than the TeamViewer logo. And in general, I am very happy with the kits as well. We need a ball winner. Ugarte or Fofana would create balance in that midfield alongside Maino and Bruno's 10. I agree. In an ideal world, we sign Ugarte and Fofana. In an ideal world, that would be great as well. But yeah, I do really like the kit. I like, a red, white, and black kit, or red, white, and dark blue kit is what you like to see. For some reason, am I lagging? Guys, I might be lagging. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was lagging a little bit there as well. Hancko and Subi would completely change the style of play. I do think positive players like Hancko and Zubimendi would really help with the style of play. Yeah, I do think, they're positive players. They're very good on the ball. They would definitely help with the style of play. But that is a very, very nice kit as well. He played well in France. Julian Laurent said he was dropped because they preferred a Basket style. Yeah, like Ugarte wasn't bad at PSG, but it was like he didn't. He wasn't the way that the manager wanted to play. You got to remember Enrique, he didn't take a single Real Madrid player to the World Cup or the first Euros with him. He has a very way that he wants to play. And he's very he either likes you or you don't. If he doesn't like you, you don't want to be one of his not students, players as well. Why is everyone talking about getting rid of Rashford in the chat? We're not getting rid of Rashford. We're not selling Rashford. Anthony, Sandro, and Pelucci would need to go before we even consider selling Marcus Rashford. And we've signed Joshua Zirkzee, who complements Rashford. So, there's no sense. I don't think we'll be getting Danny Olmo. No, his release clause has expired, and he plays as number 10 as well. Euro, Martinez, and Ligt would be a very strong centre-back options. I completely agree as well. Impressive injury record, but that might change at United. We seem cursed. You know what, Steve? If we sign Ugarte, who hasn't had an injury in 4 years, and he comes to United and misses about 3 months through injury, I generally will think it is us and that we are the problem. So I wanted to dive into this story because I thought this was quite interesting. It was said that Erik ten Hag is not under pressure to guide Manchester United to a top 4 finish next season, with Sir Jim Ratcliffe prioritising considerable progress of the team as he aims to establish sustained excellence. While ten Hag's ambition is to lead United to as high as a position as possible, and the football department want the same, there's no recognition, there are no guarantees next season as the club rebuilds and establishing a firm foundation which will allow ongoing success. Last season's 60+ injuries that seriously affected the side's performance has also been assessed, with ten Hag's wish that pre-season be shortened to ensure players are given more rest, which is good. But it was saying Erik ten Hag is not under pressure to guide us necessarily to a top 4 finish. Now, I want to finish in the top 4. I think we should finish in the top 4 to show progress. But I think the way Ineos are going to judge ten Hag is how we play football, how we progress. Do we look like a better side? If we finish 5th, but we play really good football, we're quite unlucky not to get 4th. That one season, Arsenal finished 5th because they dropped points to Newcastle second last game of the season and they kept with Arteta. If we finish 5th, but it's good football, it's clear progress, we're building something, we do well in the Europa League, they'll keep ten Hag. If we finish 4th and it is absolutely awful football and we scrape our way to 4th, they could sack ten Hag. I think the way Ineos are looking at it is we want to see progress, we want to see what you're building, we want to see you getting the best out of these players, and we want to see, of course, elements of results. It can't be awful. And I think that's what Ineos will do in regards to judging ten Hag and ten Hag's future and building upon that. I think it is about the progress, what we see Ineos bringing forward. I think it's elements of all of that. Guys, we're on 190 likes. We're hoping to hit 300 likes by the end of the live show. We've got 850 people watching right now, so please do hit that like button if you have not already. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Alice, do you think Ineos will use Nice, which they own, as a feeder club next year? It might be great development league. 100%. I think the fact they brought Omar Barada in, who worked at the City Group multi-club network, and Vivalin that worked at the RB Club's multi-club network. Ineos do plan to utilise a multi-club network. This season's getting their foot in the door. And I do think they will plan to use that multi-club network, particularly loan deals. We obviously got Bufunde at Lausanne. I don't know if Bufunde stayed at Lausanne, actually, but Bufunde is one of the most highly rated Italian young talents who I think is going to go to Lausanne on a permanent, but I'm not sure as well. And then potential to loan him to Nice and to loan him to Manchester United as well. He's obviously an attacking midfielder. They obviously wanted Anselmo in, but Chelsea went in for that and were willing to pay more money than us. They did have a look at the likes of Esteval. They've had a look at a few young players in Ineos. I think right now the focus on funds is getting people that are ready for United now. And then when we're actually a good side that's at the top and we can afford to spend a bit of money on youth like Real Madrid can and spend a fair amount of money on players like Endrick or Esteval type players, I think they will definitely try and take advantage of that multi-club network 100% as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Zubimendi was poached by PSG. The team has some Spaniard along with the manager fits the bill. I think if they can't get João Neves, they would go for Zubimendi if I was going to be honest as well. I think the balance that Zubimendi would bring to the team would be good as well. But I also think that Ugarte can do well as well. Casemiro and Sancho, selling Casemiro and Sancho frees up a ton of wages. We'd probably save like £30 million a year in just the wages saved from Sancho and Casemiro. Plus, we'd probably get £60 million for selling both of them. Selling Casemiro and Sancho plus the wages you saved probably brings United in £100 million, which is probably why United want to do it, so they can go and get that second centre back. They can go and get that midfielder, and then they would potentially go for a winger. Are we signing Amrabat? I think if we can't get who we want to get, we'll get Amrabat. I think we're leaving Amrabat to the end. We're leaving Amrabat as a last-ditch option, seeing what the price is going to be of Amrabat, because he's not welcome back to the club he's at. I'm thinking, can we get Amrabat on a deal? Can we get Amrabat on a cheap? If we can't get Fofana, if we can't get Zubimendi, if we can't get Ugarte, and we need a midfielder desperately, I think we'll go for Amrabat. But I feel like United aren't that bothered about Amrabat. It's like, oh, if we sell a lot of midfielders and we need a second midfield signing, we'll get Amrabat. If we can't get who we want, we'll get Amrabat, because we know the midfield numbers aren't great. But it's definitely not a priority, and you can't blame United. Like Amrabat for 12 million, good second midfield option, had a good cup final with Mano, but he didn't wake up to the last 5 games of the season, which wasn't necessarily his fault, because he was played out of position and this and that. But I do think that in general, in regards to Amrabat, Manchester United and its future, I would just say I don't think United are that bothered about it, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think Ineos are that bothered about it. I don't think United are that bothered about it. Because at the end of the day, he wasn't great. Like, I like Amrabat, but he wasn't great. And if we don't sign him, it's not the end of the world. Alice, what is the latest on Malacia? It was said by Chris Wheeler that Manchester United will intensify their search for new fullbacks amid uncertainty over Luke Shaw's ability to stay fit and Tyrone Malacia's injury problems. While Ambasaka is the only fit fullback on tour, it was said that Tyrone Malacia is missing out on the tour to continue his recovery. So it's not that he's still injured, it's that Tyrone Malacia is missing out on tour to continue his recovery as well. I don't think Amrabat's worth it unless cheap, says Ryan. I agree. And Amrabat for me is a second midfield signing. We had Amrabat in our midfield last season. It wasn't good enough for the midfield to be good. If Amrabat's our only midfield addition, we're going to have the same midfield problems as last year, because we haven't brought in any midfielder that wasn't here last year to change the midfield dynamic. So, yeah, we need to bring in a new midfielder, and then potentially, if we lose McTominay and Casemiro and Eriksen, you bring in Amrabat, okay, as a second option for depth, because maybe the market's a bit slim, because this happens at the end of the window. But, yeah, I think unless he's very cheap, there's no point getting Amrabat in, because I think the midfielder we want to bring in has got to be someone new, because even though he wasn't played in his main position, and Amrabat was here last season, the midfield still wasn't great. You know, he didn't miraculously improve the midfield. Why is Xerxes not in the US tour? Surely he doesn't need a holiday after 2 minutes cameo in the Euro. Because I get what you're saying, but it's more that, like, he was there with the squad. He didn't get a holiday. Yes, he didn't play. So you can say, oh, does he need rest because he didn't play? But he was there. He spent, 3 weeks of his time in Germany in base with the squad training every day when he could have been on holiday, because he thought, oh, I want to play. So, all those players, even if you play or not, they go away for 3 weeks and they train for 3 weeks. So they don't get a break. They don't get a holiday. He can't go on holiday in those 3 weeks because he's got to train, even if he's not playing. So that's why he's on holiday. And I think Ten Hag's made it very clear that he's very open to giving players holidays and longer holidays, because he knows that the injury problems we had last season, he wants his players to come in and have a bigger break and have a longer break. And you can't blame Ten Hag for that because of the injury issues last season. So go have a long break, Xerxes. I'd love to see Xerxes in pre-season because he's new and I think it'd be beneficial for him. And yes, he didn't really play in the Euros, but he also want a holiday and spend time with his girlfriend or something. You've got to look at it, I think, in that kind of way as well. Amrabat makes too many mistakes and is indecisive on the ball. I like Amrabat. I don't mind Amrabat as a second midfield signing, but it doesn't take a genius to say Amrabat has a mistake in him. Amrabat's one of those players you do have to be wary of. He always has a mistake in him that you have to be a little bit careful in regards to Amrabat. I think Amrabat and Ugarte, it's okay. For me, I would like Ugarte and Fofana, or Zubimendi and Fofana. I really hope the United push in on Fofana. Now, to be honest with Fofana to United, if we're going to hijack that deal, it's going to advance soon. If there's any truth in Manchester United hijacking the Fofana deal, we'll get a big update in today or a big update in tomorrow. I think there will be updates on that. I do think we're going to get a bit of news coming in today and tomorrow about maybe exits. I know this week's been quieter than last week, but I think the focus on United's exits. Anthony's up for sale. They're expecting a bid from McTominay. There is reports that Casemiro does have interest in Saudi, and there is actually talks with Casemiro's agent in Saudi, but the interest seems to have cooled. I also do think what Man United could do, and this is what Liverpool are doing, and this is why Liverpool haven't signed anyone, is Liverpool are waiting to assess people on pre-season tour so Arne Slot can have a gauge of what he wants. So obviously you can't fully assess people off tour and you have everyone there, but maybe Man United thinking we want a midfielder, but do we want two midfielders? Would we rather get Amrabat and block the pathway for Collier, who's got all the athletic traits and he's a young player and not on such high wages? Do we need one midfielder or two midfielders? And we only sign two midfielders if we sell McTominay and Casemiro, which I don't think is going to happen. But I think deep down, United would like two midfielders and to sell two midfielders, but they will only do that and assess that maybe after Collier as well. I'm really excited for the tour. I'm really excited for Collier to be given a chance and see how he does, see if he can be our next Maino. I think what's so exciting about Collier is, while he's not this special player on the ball that stands out like Maino did, it's more the fact that our biggest weakness last season was just our inability to cover ground at possession. The lack of athleticism in midfield was Manchester United's biggest problem last season by a while. So having a player in Toby Collier that can do that with ease and has an athletic ability that no other midfielder in the squad has, it just gives us something completely unique, which is what I like as well. We're only 37 likes away from 300 likes, people, so please do hit that like button. Of course, if you're new, we should distribute play time for all players this season and rotate to massively avoid injuries, says Das Ligt. I agree. I think we need to rotate more. I think we need to distribute time better. I think, obviously, Arsenal played the same lineup for the majority of the games, didn't have any injuries. It's about, sharing the time fairly to an extent, but, still having a strongest team play most of the games, but, rotating and benching and, having the right sort of routine in training and it being less intense some weeks and more tactical focus as well. What is Mount's role? Why do we pay 50 million for Mount? I think Mount was a long-term Eriksen replacement because he didn't have the legs, and the plan was to play Mount in the pivot with Bruno, but then Kobbie Mainoo came through and was so good that Mount is almost now back up to Mainoo, back up to Bruno, and back up to the wing, but you don't really have Mount as a starter. I think right now, as things stand, because we haven't signed a midfielder, Mainoo as a 6, Mount as an 8, and Bruno as a 10 would probably be our first choice midfield three, despite a slight lack of balance, because we can't put faith in Casemiro, Amrabat's not here, and Eriksen doesn't have it, and McTominay, no. I think, Mount, Bruno, Mainoo right now is the best midfield three, but we know Mainoo is better as an 8, so we need that 6 to play Mainoo as an 8, and then that puts Mount on the bench. So, look, for me, I wouldn't have spent 50 million on Mount. I like Mount. He's a good player, but we didn't need to spend 50 million on him. It wasn't necessary. But I do think that Mount is going to have a good season. I do think that Mount can bring a lot to United this season. You look at Manchester City, they have good players like Bernardo Silva that will spend a few games on the bench because he couldn't get in over Foden and of course, Kevin De Bruyne. But Bernardo Silva still has a good season for City. Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Foden, Rodri, De Bruyne, they all wanted to play in midfield for City. They all couldn't play. And they rotate and they get their opportunities. And I think that we have to use Mount in a smart way, rotate him, bring him in for the right games. If Ten Hag is tactically aware of what games would suit Mount, games where we're not going to have a lot of the ball would suit Mount, and, build a team around what could do that. Mount is still a world-class player, though. He can turn things around. I wouldn't say world-class, but I do think that Mount's a top-quality player. He won Chelsea Player of the Season 2 seasons in a row. He was key in big games like Champions League finals. Mason Mount is a good player. It wasn't like we signed a bad player in Mason Mount. I don't think it was necessary. I think there was other positions that I would have deemed more important than Mason Mount. I think I would have gone for Declan Rice over Mason Mount. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Our midfield is different this season. We are playing box midfield. Mount will be very important. For me, Mason Mount's going to be like a new signing this year because he didn't play. I think Toby Collier could be like a new signing if he comes through and does well in pre-season. And we could bring Ugarte in as a new season. So we could see a brand new sort of midfield look as well. Do you think Luke Shaw will be back and fit in time? Yeah, Luke Shaw will be fit for the start of next season as well. Not seen Mount's qualities in United shirt. Hopefully he'll show something next season, not get injured again. Yeah, to be fair to Mount, we haven't seen his qualities, but he has been injured. And when he was fit, he was playing with Tomlin over it for some reason as well. Hopefully we get no injuries on tour. Yeah, last year getting Ahmad and Kobbie injured on tour was the worst. The fact that we lost both Ahmad and Kobbie out for months on tour, who are two key players now, That was absolutely the worst. So hopefully we don't get injuries like that as well. Guys, we're 6 likes away from the 300 like target. So please do hit that like button if you haven't already. Over 800 people watching right now. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, of course, if you're new. I go live every single morning on Alice Talks Football around 8:45 a.m. doing around a 40 to 45 minute live show where I keep you guys up to date on all the latest Manchester United news, updates and more. And then about between half one and half four, depending on when my meetings are during the day, I do a half an hour afternoon live show, and then I do a 10-minute late night video if you don't have time to watch all the live shows and you want all the news rounded up. But I go, there's 3 pieces of content a day. If there's breaking news, there's 4. So do subscribe for that if you're new as well. I do want to dive into a couple updates, a couple stories as well. We really need a DM and CM. I don't think Mano can play every game, and we can't have McTominay starting when he's out. 100% too different. Fofana, Ugarte, get it done. Bish bash bosh. Get Ugarte for 40 million as PSG lower the fee. Get Fofana for about 20 million. 60 million, I think we can get both of them for. We just have to negotiate the fee down. AC Milan aren't going to pay the fee that they want. Maybe we can hijack Fofana to AC Milan. Bosh. If Zubimendi wants United, we can get him slightly cheaper than his 50 million release clause. Maybe explore that. But yeah, I agree. For me, Man United should be signing 2 midfielders. And I've made that clear for a while. Guys, we did it. 300 likes. So big up to everybody in the chat that's been here hitting that like button. Really do appreciate it as well. Do you think Mount will start? Probably not. Weirdly, I think he's got more chance of starting on the wing next season, which I don't want to see because I like to see wingers on the wing. Play your players in their best position. And that's the one thing that frustrates me is we brought Eriksen in to be an 8 and we brought Mount in to be an 8. But both Mount and Eriksen are better as 10s, but they can't play as a 10 because Bruno's there. So, sorry, I've hit my mic. I almost think instead of buying Mount and buying Eriksen who are 10s and playing them as an 8, why did we just not buy a natural 8? Or buy someone like Declan Rice that could play as a 6 and then we could play the other midfielders in that 8 role. But we didn't, and that's the one frustration. Alice, do you think we'll get Hancko? I think Hancko was definitely our Bramford alternative and someone we're looking at, but it depends on the price because United see him as a bench option, a rotation option. I also think Manchester United making a move on defender will massively depend on what happens with Lindelof and Maguire over the coming days. But I think Inacio, no. Hancko is one to watch. I think we've kind of been put off. I think Ineos don't 100% rate Inacio. I think maybe due to issues with lack of physicality and all of that as well. I think Hancko's one to watch. I think that United should try and do some swap deal that would include Schlotterbeck and Sancho, but it doesn't seem like United are interested in doing that. But I've made that clear, if we want a left-sided defender that can play left back, left centre back, that's really good. You don't get much better than Schlotterbeck in the market, and with them wanting Sancho but not being able to afford him, could we do some kind of swap deal there? I don't think we will, but I would have loved United to do that as well. Fulham buying a Smith-Rowe. They're still interested in Scott McTominay despite buying a Smith-Rowe apparently as well, so I'm not too worried about that. Mount isn't a 10, he's better as a left wing or right wing. In Tuchel's system, he did play better out wide, to be honest. I think Mount will be eventually starting. It's just gut feeling, straining things up in the season. I think the Mount could have a very good season if he can stay fit as well. Mount's role this season will be within the medical team. I mean, that was his role last season. We have no rooms for incomings. I think we have got about 40 million left to spend before we need to sell to buy anyone else in. So that could bring in Ugarte or Ligt, but both teams need to lower the fee. Listen, people, I'm going to wrap up today's live show here. Please do hit that like button on the way out. And, of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks if you're new. Thank you for watching today's show. See you next time. Bye.